Good evening, guys, and welcome back to the exercise training sessions. And we stopped at transfer logins task, right? So let me disable it. We are good with this, and um, very good. I think most of you guys have done your assignment. I will go through that. I'll review it, and I will get back to you on the same. If I feel any changes are required, then I'll update you so that you can make the changes and send the updated file. Now, we are almost all coming to an end. We discussed about a lot of control flow items which are actually not required to know. I mean to say that not required in every project. If you work for some 10 to 15 projects, then you may need to know about all these projects. But for one or two projects, or I can say that these are not most frequently used one. Once in 100 projects or once in 1,000 projects, you'll be using most of the control flow items that we discussed. And in this task, in this session, what we're going to discuss is entirely I grouped all these items which need some third-party installations or third-party access. So for explaining the task that I have today, I need to install either FTP or something like that. I need to have some access to the third-party programs or something like that. So most of the tasks that we are going to discuss today I'm going to explain you about the properties, and I cannot show you an example. That's what I'm trying to tell. Why? Because let's take a web service task. I can explain you what is web service and where it will be useful and so on. And I don't have web service ready with me now. So in real time, how it will happen is you will get all the credentials required for the web service. Let's say a web service is created and you need to access data from there. They will provide you all the details. Let's say FTP task. You need some FTP server from where you can access the files and so on. Right now I don't have anything. I tried to set FTP in my system, but it's not working, unfortunately. So I'm not expert in setting FTP, so I am new to this. So in real time scenarios, people will provide you the URL, the ID, and the password, the minimum things that are required to connect the FTP. In the same way, send mail task. I don't have any connections, any SMTP settings in my machine, so I can't send any mail. I don't have access to send mail, or I need to have some server settings, SMTP settings to send mail and so on. I can use proxy settings, but I tried today, I didn't find anything working. Okay, so I'll give you an overview and explanation about the properties of the tasks that we are going to cover today, and hope it will give you a picture. And let me highlight you, whenever there is an important task that will be used very frequently in your projects, I'll explain you on every property, and also I'll tell you how you will get values for that, and whether it will be your job or some other person's job to configure all those stuff. So let's start with a task. Let's say XML. I don't know anything. I used XML files as source, and I worked with XML files when I was working with .NET and all, .NET language and all. But I can say I don't know the terminology yet. I'm not expert in Excel terminology. Let's say like DTT, XML document type, some XSD types are there. So many different types are there. So I'll give you what this XML task will do, a little information about it, and you can try. And it all depends on the requirement. When the requirement comes, then only you will be using this kind of task, XML task editor. And if you see, the first thing that you have to set in this XML task is the input, the operation type, what you want to do. So the validate means it will validate. Okay, it will validate whether it has the correct document DTT format and all. And what I know here is XPath and XSLT are the terminologies of XML, and if you're familiar with XML, then you can try understanding it. But for practicing this, first get good grip on XML. XML is a separate language kind of. It's a pretty big one. It's not like a simple concept that I can explain here and give you complete knowledge on that. So let me start with the difference. So diff means it will find out the difference. If you provide two XML files, what it will do is it will find out the difference, and it will say whether there is any difference available or not. If it is not, then true will be written. Sorry, false will be written. No difference there. Two files are same, and If there is difference, then it will return false saying that, sorry, true saying that there is some difference between these two files. In the same way, you can use merge. People uses merge sometimes where they want to merge two XML files. Okay, and remaining stuff, if it's like a highly into the XML concepts, let's see these two examples, and which is straightforward one and pretty much used one. If you talk about XML editor. Firstly, for example, if you want to go for a difference, then what you need two XMLs. One is source and uh, one is source and another one is destination. So you have to set the source difference. Okay, source type, it is a file, and let me take a file. I'll go for next, and I have created two. I just given some dummy files. I'll show you. I think the name is one. Okay, so this is an XML file. There is nothing. There is elements, and in that there are items. Value 1, value 2. This is a basic, very simple XML, and you will be having very complex XMLs, but only when you deal with XML data. Before loading data from XMLs, you need to validate something, right? In that case, only I'll be using this XML tags and all. So let me set it as a, let me set one.xml as the source, and I have to set the destination. You can go for either direct input or you can get it from file. I'll go for file, and there is one more copy of the same I have. Let me select the same. One.copy is the name of the XML, I think. Yeah, I just copied it. Just one couple of minutes before the session start, I copied two files just to demonstrate this. So now I set the source and destination, and this part is the next one you have to set is save operation result, whether you want to save or not. If you want to save, then you have to specify where you want to save. You want to save it to a file connection or to a variable. The return will be either true or false, whether it is the same or not same. Okay, let me take a text file where I can save it. Let me take whether I have any test or text files available. Okay, there is one file called test. This is XML file. Can you see any other text file here? I'll create one. I'll say it as results. This is an existing file, and whether you want to override the destination every time or not. If you want to execute this package again and again, then you can go for overwriting option. And if you want to fail it on the difference, fine. If there is any difference, then you want to fail the package, then you can fail it. And when you are writing, you don't need it, right? And you can write, you can save this diffgram. If there is any difference, then the diffgram or some uh, data will be copied to the destination file. Let me set one destination file for this. Let me create one more. Okay, and click on OK. Now I set the properties that are required. Let me execute it and see whether there is any difference between these two files and whether it will read the data if the differences are available. Now this is the results one. This is the diffgram, and you can see this is false. These two are not same, so that is why I think it is returning false. So not same or same. I'm not. One second. So if you see the files one and one.copy, do you find any difference here, or do you think these two are same? Then why it is not same? If you see, this should be UE, value. Here it is value, and here it is I have given val. Okay, so that is what it has written to the output files. Now I made the change. I made both looks same. Now let me re-execute the package by closing all this stuff, and let's see what it is gonna write. And you can see it's highlighting here the val. Okay. Now let me close it and let me stop the package. Remember, I made the change val to value. Now let me check whether all the settings are perfect or not. Okay, fine. Let me execute it. Okay, it executed successfully. Now let's go and see the results. You can see it is true. That means both are same. The issue, whatever it has reported, is not there now. Why? Because both are same. There is no differences. So the diffgram diagram is no, the data is nothing now. So this is how you can compare two XML files using the task, whether it is correct or not. Let's say you have some default template, and if you want to check it every time whether the template is same or whether it is modified by any guy before loading into the file, then or before loading into the destination, then you can have these kind of checks using XML tasks. Now let me do one thing again. I'm going back to the first file, that is 1. Okay, and I'm changing the value to val. That means there is some difference now between these two files. Now if I execute it again, I'll get diffgram file. Let's see whether the diffgram file comes properly or not. It's like one more check. So now if you go and see the results one, you can see the diffgram file is coming, and it is showing this is the value that is different from the existing one. The one with which it is comparing. Now, if you see, there are so many tasks like this, so many different operations like this, and I'm not familiar with all this stuff. But the patch is what I know a little bit about the patch. What this patch will do is, it will take that file, the diffgram file, wherever it is, and it will add that patch to the existing file. Okay. And in the same way, if you go for merge, it will merge two files. You need one source and destination, and it will merge two files. And based on the operation type you are selecting, the inputs and outputs, the parameters are changing, right? Whatever it is required for the particular operation, then it will be shown, and you have to set those properties. Now let's try to merge this one. This is the source. This is the source file, and let's say what is the merge XPath. I'll go for the second one, which I want to merge with the first source file. So I'll go for one copy XML. This is the second XML file that I have in my desktop, and output I want to save it to results.txt. Fine. Let me copy it to the results.txt. Oops, sorry, this is not that one. This is the second file. This file will be merged with this file. Let's see now. So it executed successfully, and let me go to the results file. I have nothing to do with the results one here for this particular operation. And the results file, if you see, those two XML files are merging. Okay. So this is how you can merge two XML files, which by providing those two as input. And remember, while practicing, don't do the same. Try to get the files dynamically using variables. You know there is an option called variable, right? So get that to try to use the try to give the path in the variable and try to access the variables, and also try to loop the files, and you can loop the same, like set one source and loop 10 files, and every time whenever you are looping, you will get new file, right? Merge with the source. So it will be it should append to the first source file that you have. Okay, now let me take another task, FTP task, and as I told you, I don't have any FTP configured, but I have seen some FTP settings. I don't know whether I can use it or not, but I'll use it, but I'll erase that. I'm not going to record all those stuff, what FTP I'm going to use. It is not legal to use all those stuff. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make use of some sample, some dummy FTP site from where you can pull the data or push the data. First, let me explain what is the use of this FTP task. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. You can transfer the files over internet to different servers. Like let's say my client will be sitting in the UK and he will store all the files, text files in his folder, and he will give access to me. What I will do is I'll connect from here, from my package. See, let's say this is my client's computer in UK and I'm sitting here in US to work on a project. So every day he will load some files into this folder. Let's say 100 files. My job is I have to get all these files into my local, and I have to loop through all those files, and I have to load the data into the database. This is my task. So to get these files over internet, the task that protocol what we use, or the option, what is that? The option what we go for is FTP, File Transfer Protocol, which helps to deal with the files and folders in the remote computers. Now, let's see. The first thing I need is the server connection, where this guy is sitting. The server connection I need, and then if there is any authentication set like user ID and password needs to be there to connect to the particular folder, you can set user ID and password. So if you set user ID and password, then it will give, if you provide user ID and password, then it will give access to that particular folder. You can read the data, you can, read the files, or you can write the files. It depends on the permissions they set. Some clients, what they will do is they will give only read permissions. That means you can copy those files from there to your local, but not you can't copy, or you can't overwrite the file that is available in the client's machine. Now let's see what properties we need to set for this. So the first thing is FTP connection. This is the important thing that I'm talking about. I said, right, I don't have access, or I don't have set anything. So what you need to provide? What you need to provide is, the first thing is server name, and the second thing is username, and the third thing is password. Okay. Now let me give some junk values, and you don't worry whenever you work on project where you need to copy the files from server to your local, or from your local to your server. All the permissions will be set, and they will give you server name, ID, and password. You just need to type. If I'm not explaining you anything here with some example, don't think that it is a mystery. I'm telling you clearly, they will give you all the credentials that are required to connect. Okay. Okay, now I have given some server name and I have given user ID and password. Let me set the test connection, and it is succeeded. So let me close it. So if I click on OK, the FTP connection manager is set. And the second option is stop on failure. If you want to stop it when the connection is failed or not, you can set it to true. If you want to stop the task, or else you can set it to false. And this is the main page where you have to set the properties, like what is the folder there at the server, and what file you want to get, and to where you want to get. You have options like many things here, like send files, receive files, create local directory, create remote directory, remove local directory, and remove remote directory, delete local files, and delete remote files. So the same thing is very similar task is file system task. In that we deal with only two folders in the computer, in the local computer, right? But this is with the remote directories and remote files. Now send files, what it will do is it will send files from your local or from your path, whatever you are going to give, to the remote directory. And receive files, it will receive files from there. It will copy the file from there and paste it in your directory or folder, whatever you are going to set. And the third thing is create local directory. So before getting all the files from the server, I told you, right, in that example, every day I will be getting 100 files. I have to copy to my local. So every day I need to create one folder first with the name like files underscore current date, and then I have to start copying files from the server to this local. So how many tasks I need, how many FTP tasks I need for that? I need two. One for creating local directory. I'll select this and I'll provide the information. And in another task, I will use receive files. Right? In this way, for this, if you go like this, you need two connections. Right? Sorry, two tasks. One FTP task for creating the local directory and one FTP task for receiving the files from the server. In the same way, create remote directory. If you want to copy files by creating a new folder in the remote server, then you can use this option. Remove local directory. If you want to delete anything after moving all the files to the remote server, if you want to delete the local directory, you can delete it. Or if you want to delete local files, you can delete remote files using this option. So based on the operation you are going to select here, the properties will be changed again. Now I set the connection, right? So I'm going to receive files from there. Okay. Now let me set the local path, where I have to copy the file. If I get the file from the remote connection, remote server, where I need to copy it, I have to set it whether it's asking whether it's a variable or not. It is not a variable. I'm going to select the path directly. Let's say I'll set to desktop, or I'll set to some folder, existing folder. I want to copy the file into, let's say, test folder. Okay, there is a test folder in my desktop. I want to copy the files into the folder. And if you want to overwrite the file at destination, if the file is already available, do you want to overwrite or not? If you want to overwrite, you can check this option. Now the remote file path. What file you are gonna give from the remote file path. So is it a variable or not? It is not variable. So that means if I click this, it will open and show what are all the files that are available in the FTP connection that you have given. Let me show you that. Now you can see it is connected to the server and it is showing all the files that are available in the server, and whatever the file you want to import, you can get it. Or the another option is, if you want to get more files like 10 to 15 files, what you can do, you should know how many files you are going to loop through. You can loop through all those files and you can pass the file name using variable. There is an option, right? Like passing the file name using variable. Now let me select one file and click on OK. I selected one file and let me click on OK. So the file got selected and let me click on OK. The package is ready to exit, and the task is ready to execute now. Now let me trigger the package, and it is successful. Now let me go to the folder and see whether the file is created, that is copied or not. So now you can see the file is copied to the destination path, that is test, and you can see the date also. It is 10 to 2013, 8:55 p.m. That is exactly 1 minute before. So it took 1 minute for me to cover that. See, actually this is an FTP server I found in internet, and the people asked me to use it, but I don't want to make it public. So many guys will be using it, and I don't want to give it for everyone and disturb the people who helped me in explaining this particular task. So in real time, what people will do is they will loop through. Let's say you will be, they will give you a hint like, okay, you will be getting 10 files. So you loop through 10 files, you'll get all those files, and you will get the data into your destination files. Sorry, you'll get all those files into your local folder, and then you will use those files to push the data into the tables. And once the data is pushed, then what you will do is you will archive the data. We have discussed, right, process task we can use to archive. So in the same, this is one process, pulling the data from remote server, copying it into your local, and loading the data from those files into your tables, and then archiving, moving these files into one folder, and finally archiving that folder. So this is how you have to visualize a scenario, and you have to start practicing the same. If you want to get more than one file, or if you want to get if you want to if you want to pass the file name dynamically, then you can make use of the variables and for each loops or for loop conditions. So this is about the task FTP. As we are done with this FTP task, now let me erase the drawings. We don't need to have all these drawings on my page. So let me go back here and I can stop it and disable it as I'm done with this task. And there is one more way to check whether the FTP, see, whenever you ask for FTP credentials, they'll give you credentials. You can check it whether the credentials are correct or not. The first thing you have to type is the server name, ftp.rupesh.com. Let's say there is some FTP site with ftp.rupesh.com. So once you give the credentials, it will go and check whether it is available or not, and then it will ask for your ID and password. So let's say the ID and password is Rupesh and something. If these two values are correct, whatever they have provided, it will take you into the folder, into the particular folder, and there you can see what are all the files that are placed in that particular folder. This is one way of checking whether the credentials they have given is correct or not. This is just for your information. Now let's jump into the next task, message queue task. So message queuing is very beautiful option to send the messages, to share the messages among two different applications. Okay, the advantage of this message queuing is if the destination, if the receiver is offline or shut down, it will wait until it become online and then it will send the message. That is the beautiful option we have in message queuing, and it really helps whenever you want to move. And even .NET applications, people are maintaining few things in message queuing. They are making use of message queues. Now let's see how to configure and where you can see whether the message queue is properly configured or properly executing or not. So first let's see where this message queue is. If you go to my computer, right click and click on manage, you'll find different options, and one among that one is server configurations, services and applications. In that you will find message queuing, and here you can see private messages. There is a test message queue created by me, and in that there is an option called message queue messages. So if you send any message, the message will be sent to this particular place, and the receiver can receive the message from here. I remember in 2007 when I was working in one of the projects, there people used message queues very, at high level. They dealt with message queues a lot. So that is why I'm giving you an information about where the messages will be stored or sent, and from this place how to receive the messages. Okay, let's discuss that one now. So first job is to send the messages. To send the messages, I need to set the connection to the message queues. So let me set the connection to the message queue. Local MSM queue, and the path will be something like this: localhost /private. The private is the folder name right here. Private $/ and what is the name? Test. So let me test it. I think you don't need to specify this private invalid message queue path. One second. I need to set the local host correctly. Okay. Now it is saying it will go to the local host computer to the private folder, and in that the test is the message queue name. And whenever you are dealing with the message queues, they will give you the path, what path you have to refer to. So you don't need to know about all this stuff. Okay. Click on OK. Now the source is set. Sorry, the connection is set, and the next job is whether you want to send message to the message queue or receive message to the message from the message queue. My intention is to send, and then you can see the send options are enabled. And if you select receive, the receive options will be enabled. Like you can see the page is changed to receive. Now let me set it to send for now. And the send options, use encryption if you want to encrypt the data message before sending there. And what you are sending a string message or variable message. Variable message means variable one. or you want to send a data file, or that means you want to send a file itself. Let me select the data file first. And here you have to select what file you want to send. Let me send results1. Okay, I'm sending results1 file to MSMQ. Let me click on OK. Let me execute it. And it is successful. And let's see whether the message is available here or not. See, a data file message is available here. So the receiver will receive now by giving the label like data file message. If you use data file message, then the data file message will be read from here. Let me show you how we can do that. So for the, you can do that using the same message queue option. Message queue is basically an option which helps in providing, circulating some data between multiple applications. Okay. Now let me set the properties. I'm using the same connection. Why? Because it's available in my local. And the option I want to select here is receive message, and from where I want to receive message. Once you receive the message, do you want to delete it from the server or from the message queue or not? If you set it to true, once the message is received, then it will be deleted in the message queue. It will no longer available. And next option is error if message timeout. If the time taking is more, then it will say timeout error. And when you enable it, it will ask how many seconds you can see. Let's see for 5 seconds, and if you don't receive it, then make it as timeout. And what message you want to get? I want to get data file message. Data file message is the one that I want to push. I pushed into the message queue now. I want to retrieve it from the message queue. And this is the data file, right? So where you want to store? Let me set it as desktop bubbly.txt. And if you want to overwrite, if the file is already exists, you can set it. And filter option is you can filter like, okay, receive only messages from a particular package, or receive messages without any filter. That means any message that is available or not available on the message queue server. And let me set it to no filter now and click on OK. If you set it to from package, then you have to select the package and provide the information of the package, and we don't have any packages available now. That's why I've set it to no filter. Let me execute it. The first step, what it will do is it will send a message to this message queue. Let me refresh it. I think it's already sent. It's already sent and also received. Okay. Now the one which is sent is deleted after receiving. Let me go and see the desktop whether I have the data that is available in the results. So you can see the data from the results one is sent to the message queue, and from message queue it is received to here. If you don't now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to delete this. Sorry, I'm going to disable this. That means I'm not going to send anything. I'm going to execute only the receiving part. So that means it will go and check whether there is any file message queue. And there was one file message queue, that is data file message here. And if I click on refresh, that is gone. Why? Because it is received now. So it will wait in the message queue until the application, which the receiver application receives the message. And then it depends on the configuration setting at the receiver end whether to delete the file after receiving or not. It will be either available here or receive or will be deleted from the message queue. So in the same way, you can try for string message or variable message, right? So you can try all those stuff. It will be very simple, very similar as this. And if you want to set this message queues in your machine, there is a lot of process, and I can publish a document if you want for that. Okay. Okay, this is about message queue, and you can try for the remaining stuff like variable, or if you go for string message, it's just like a string message will be sent, and you can receive the string message as a string, or you can assign it to a variable option. So these are the different options that you can set, and the main operations are send and receive. Based on the send and receive, the second page of this task will be changed either to send or to receive based on the selection. Now we discussed about FTP, we discussed about this, we discussed about remaining stuff. XML is done, and web service task. For understanding this, you need to know what is web service. A web service, it's like you can design a web service or create a web service using .NET or Java, whatever it is. It can be, there will be a method in a web service. Let's say this is your web service, okay, and this is your methods in it, and let's say this method returns a table, and this method returns some string, and this method returns some integer value, and so on, whatever it is. The method means which will have some functionality, and it will return something, or it may not return something. Okay, it may not return anything. So this will be hosted in your server. What you can do is, using this web service, you can connect to this, and you can execute a method and get the output into your web service task. Most of the cases, these guys, even I have a couple of web services created in my current project. In that, what we are doing is, if I call that web service method, it will return me the data, a table data, one table information. Okay. In the same way, whenever you are dealing with these kind of tasks, you don't need to worry much. Why? Because you will be getting all the input parameters that are required to pass. If you don't have any parameter value, then you can ask to the team who has worked on the web services. There will be a separate team or a .NET team which will be working on these web services generally. Or if you have a Java team, the Java team will be working on the same. If you select this, I don't have anything to show now. That's why I'm extremely, my apologies for that. I can't set the web service, or I can't create and host a web service now. I don't have that environment ready. So what you need to do is, you need to set the connection first. You have to give the URL and what credentials you want to, if there is any credentials, and time out all those stuff. And proxy settings, if there is any proxy settings like for connecting to that, you can specify the proxy settings. If there is any proxy settings, you will get all that information from the person who has created the web service. And web service definition language file, if there is any file, there is a definition language for the web service methods and all. You can refer to the file, and if you want to overwrite it, you can overwrite or not. This is plain option. And the input, if you see, it's saying no connection. You have to provide the service, and you have to provide what method it is, what method you want to. There will be so many methods in a web service, so you have to select the method. The methods will be listed here, and you have to just simply select the method. And the output, what you are going to retrieve. You are going to retrieve the data into a file or to a variable. If it is a text table, you can set you can take a variable, and you can get the table into the variable, right? Object I showed you while working with for each loop containers and so on. So this is the output and input you need to set. It will be pretty simple if you have a web service and a method ready, and if you can connect, and you can easily try that. But I don't think that we can set an environment at this point of time. So just try to remember the properties, and whenever you're working in real time, you don't need to worry about all these properties values. It will come to you from the exact person who has worked on it. So let me disable this, and let me go to WMI data reader task. This is one of the tasks I don't see people uses this. This is for Windows management. Windows objects will be there, right? Server services and all, whatever the services that is running in your computer and so on. If you want to check all those stuff, then you can go with this WMI task. And do you think you'll be using this, whether the service is running or not, using this one on, or something like that? I've never come across the requirement which uses this. And let me show you how to read the services. I'm going for new WMI connection. Here it will ask for localhost server name. That means it will go for the local computer services, or you can provide the services or anything that you want to execute on any particular server. You can provide that, but that should be in the same network, remember. And namespace, it will be /root/cimv2. Leave it as is. And if there is any credentials you want to provide, you can provide, or you can. I'm accessing my local computer, right? So I'll go for Windows authentication. That means the with which ID I've logged into my Windows, that will be taken as the authentication ID and password. Now the connection is set. Now you need to write some query to get the data from there. Let's see, the query will be very odd, and it's not either SQL Server or something like that. System dot, I'm not sure whether this is correct or not, and get the data as output. Let me get the data table and overwrite the destination. If you want to overwrite, or if you want to keep the destination as is, whatever it is, then you can set it. And where you want to move the destination, let me move it to variable. I'll create a variable with object type. I'm naming it as WMI, and I'll set it as object type. So I'm getting table, right? So I'll set it as object type. So click on OK. Now whatever the data that is present in this particular Windows command, then it will get that into the variable WMI. Let's see, fingers crossed. I'm not sure whether it will be successful or not. If it is successful, then we are good. Oops, error. The invalid query. It is saying invalid query. I told you, right? I'm not good in these Windows commands and all Windows related stuff. So it is saying invalid query. So let me modify this query a little bit. I've seen some query with system. I think it's a system. Let me try with system. There is nothing called like parser or something to check it. We have to go for trial and error. Let me go for this try. I think the spelling was mistake. Okay, again it's wrong. Again the same problem. The query is wrong. Invalid query. So see, all these things, I mean, this is specific to Windows, and you don't know what query you have to write exactly and so on. Let me try with services. Let's see whether I get any data or not. Even this is wrong. I mean, I'm not getting the query correct, and I don't know any query. So what will happen is, it will get the information from the server, what service is running, or what is the status of it, and so on. So once you get that, you can make use of the service status or whatever the status in your applications. Sorry, in your next task, in your workflow. If you want to check whether it is running or not, if it is running, then do this. If it is not running, then do that kind of functionality. And this is, as I told you, this is high level, and which will not be part of your SSIS packages, I can say. I got some query. Let's try whether this works or not. I mean, instead of services, I'm gonna go for process. Let's see. Let me execute it. If this works, or else, I mean, couple of you guys pinged the queries, right? I'll try that. Okay, even this query is not correct. So I'm going for the query given by Swati. You will find, I mean, this is like a different querying language. You need to learn that. WQL, you can see, right? WMI query language. And once you get full grip on that, then only you can make full use of it. I don't know what query it is. It's given by Swati. I have copied it, and let's see whether it will be successful or not. No, it is saying the same error. So just try it. If you get any query, then what you can do is, if any query is successful, then what you can do is, you can read the data, and you can make use of the data in your workflow. Like do something else if this value is that. If the process value, I mean, if any process is stopped, then don't do this or don't do that or something like that. Now it is saying it is invalid class in the query. So let me try the different query given by another student, and let's see whether the class is correct or not this time. Okay, this is the query. I got it from internet, and let's see. If it goes wrong, I'm not going to take more time on this. I'm going to skip to the next one. See, this is successful here. The query is correct and it is going to read some data. And the data will be read into your variable, whatever the variable you have given. Now, let me take a for each loop and see what is coming into the variable. That is object, right? I asked to get the table data. Now, let's see whether it's reading properly or not. So, I'm going to loop through the variable using ADO enumerator, and the variable is WMI, and the variable mapping I'm gonna map it to let's say path. It's a string, right? I hope I'm gonna get string. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna set a breakpoint to see the variable, whether the variable value is getting changed or whether it is coming correctly or not. I don't know what data it is coming, whether it is string or not. I'm going for an assumption that it is coming as the string is coming. I think I use the variable file, right? File or path. Okay, I think I used the path, and the variable first value is local fixed disk. Now let me execute it, and it's gone. I'm getting only one value into that here, the query, whatever you have written. Okay, so this is how you can make use of this WMI data reader task to check the status of the processes or anything related to WMI Windows management stuff. Now, a similar one, if you see WMI event watcher, this is very similar. It also takes the same connection like WMI data reader. So what it will do is it will have a watch on some folders. Again, you have to write WMI query language, which I'm very poor at. So let me select the WMI connection manager, and here you have to set some, you have to write a WMI query language to check, okay, whether a new file is coming to a particular folder or not. You can set some folder and you can check whether a new file is coming or a file with a particular name is coming or not. If it is coming, then you can take these actions like log event and file SSIS event. That means an event will be filed and there a new functionality can be written. We'll discuss about these events when we talk about the event handlers. Here a separate tab you can see, right? And after event, what you want to do? You want to return with failure or return with success or watch for the event again. The options are pretty straightforward one. Action at timeout. What you need to do, what the task has to do or what the server has to do when it reaches to the timeout. And after timeout, what should happen? Whether it has to return with failure or success or retry for next time. And number of events, how many events it has to check for, and what is the timeout period. So this is very close to the previous task, that is WMI data reader task, but here it acts like a watcher. You can set some query where it will check for a file. Okay, it will check for that file whether the file is copied to that or not. Let's say I'll tell you a scenario. Clients will push the files into your local using FTP once in a day, and you don't know when they will be pushing the files. So what you can do is you can use this WMI event watcher task to check whether the file is copied into the folder or not. If the file is copied, then trigger the next task, else wait, loop through. Loop again and again and again. Once the file is available, then go to the next task. Like read the file, copy it to the destination, into a different folder, read the data, push it into, and all the functionality will start from there. So you need to have a keep on the folder, the file, whether the file is getting copied into the folder or not. So for that task, for that job, you can use this WMI event watcher task. And if you see this execute DTS 2000 packages task, if you have any 2000, I don't have this DTS installed in my machine, so it will throw error. So if you have DTS 2000, 2000 DTS is installed, and if you have any package created using that, you can use this execute DTS 2000 task to execute the same packages. Okay, if you want to execute the earlier version packages, you can use this particular task. If you have installed the DTS in your machine, you can try and see what properties you have that are available in this particular task. And the last one in this task which we have not discussed is data mining. So data mining is part of SSAS. We have discussed about two things, right? Analysis services TDL task and analysis services process task. Similarly, data mining relates to SSAS concept, SQL Server Analysis Services. So if you have any mining structure defined, and remember, we are not going to discuss about data mining in as part of SSIS training sessions. We're not going to discuss. Actually, it's a separate task. We're not going to discuss. So if you become master in data mining, data mining means it's like cleaning of data. So you have to write algorithms, something, some queries and so on. So here you can connect to the analysis services and you can connect to the mining structure and mining model. You have to write it here, and this will be executed and return the data or something will be happen. Like this is for dealing with mining structures. I'll show you how the mining. Uh, one second. How where the data mining concepts will come, and let me take a new SSAS project and analysis services project. I'll make it as test and add to the solution. Click on OK. And to the same solution, the project is added now. And you can see in the solution explorer. And if you see, this is your analysis service project. Here you have data sources, data source views, cubes, dimensions, and mining structures. So this is a separate one. This mining structures we are not going to discuss. We are going to discuss about roles, dimensions, cubes, data sources, and data source views. It is like in mathematics, algebra is a concept. So in the same way, mining structures is a different way to clean the data, and analysis services is a different way to improve the performance of the data. So we will be concentrating only on analysis services, but not on the mining structures. And these mining structures, I'm giving you a little idea about it. It's just for cleaning of the data, and you will be having permutations and combinations of concepts in the mining structures. And based on the things happen, like let's say it's like probability. Uh, okay, the person, if you observe that Best Buy or some sites, you can find like, okay, the person who has viewed this also viewed some other products, or the person who purchased this also purchased this. Person who purchased cheese pizza also purchased something else. It will give you a hint, right? So these mining structures will give all those combination, all those information to the users who are using it. Like what is the probability of picking a particular product when the user picks this? If user A selects a product A, and what is the chances of the same user selecting product B or product C? It will be based on permutations and combinations and predictions based on the historical data, whatever the data that was there. Let's say 10 users who purchased product A has purchased product B. Then the output will be the person who purchased product A, chances of purchasing product B is very high. It is like mobile phone to mobile pouch. It's a combination, right? People who purchase that goes for this. Who takes internet, mobile connection will go for data connection. So these kind of things will come in data mining in SSAS, and we are not going to discuss about it. Just keep an get the idea what this data mining query task is. If you have any mining models, you can execute those queries and get the data from the mining models. See here I have explained about how to install an instance. I'm pinging you. This is about instance only, not main version. See, this is instance. See, don't pick any folder here where you have software. Pick that. You have software here, right? You can see where you have software. Just go there and okay, I'll trigger that. Sorry guys, the last thing whatever is captured in the video is the question.